Hi friends, welcome to today's video. I'm here feeling cozy. It is currently with wind chill like minus 37 degrees out in Minnesota, so we're in the middle of like the Arctic tundra right now, and I just thought it'd be great to share my top 10 books for 2022 with you. I know a lot of these videos are already starting to come out and they're one of my favorites to watch, so I hope you enjoy this one as well. Thank you so much for stopping by. My name is Tanya. If you are new to this channel, welcome. I'm glad to have you stop by, but let's get into today's video and I will share with you my top 10 books of 2022. Now again, I'll preface with saying this is just my personal opinion, right? This is just my thoughts on it and what I have read, and a lot of these, I don't really have them in any particular order, like this is my number from like least to most favorite, just because they're all so different. Like it's hard for me to compare like a thriller and a romance, you know, kind of thing. So I just kind of have my top 10 favorites that just I really enjoy, that really kind of hit me in somewhere, just really resonated with me, just like different reasons for them. And so yeah, so they're not in any particular order from like least to most favorite. Let's get into it. And I think kind of basically, because I was looking at my Goodreads when I made this list, is going back to January of 2022 and just kind of going in order of the, you know, like my best read books starting from January. So the first one that I have to say is Love and Other Words. I really love this book. This is one of my top 5 favorite books I think that I've ever read. I just really enjoy this. It is a romance, but it's just, I feel like it's so much more than just a romance, and I think this is my favorite book by Christina Lauren. I've read a few others by them this year, and this, I mean, they were good, but it's not anything like this one. I love it because it's like childhood friends to lovers, but again, like there's just so much more than just the romance. But I love when there's a depth to the romance, like it spans back to their childhood. I'm sure many of you have read this book. Again, you can see I've tabbed some things. It's just, I really love it, and I always recommend it to people, especially because I feel like, again, it's just so much more than just romance, and it just has like a lot of depth into it, and a lot of like looking at family relationships and struggle. And I love that it jumps between past and future, or like past and present time, sorry. But it's just one of my, I don't know, and I just love Elliot. I think he's a wonderful character. And like I said, like it was one of those books too where I got invested into the characters, like I really cared about the relationship, because that does not always happen for me in a romance, and I love it. So yeah, I recommend this one for sure. The other one that I really enjoyed, I'll put up here, was the new Emily Henry, Book Lovers. Oh, do I not have it? Oh, I do have it. Silly me. It's right here. I was like, I swear I bought it. It is the book Book Lovers. Again, I love it because I think Emily Henry is, for me, one of the authors is just wonderful at combining romance, but also she's really good at combining romance but also contemporary fiction. And like similar to this, I like romances that have like more oomph or just something more to them than just like the romance. And I really liked about this one too is because, again, there was a story of romance between Nora and, who was it? I think it's, again, Charlie. And I also love that it takes place in the literary world, like anything about books, writing, right? It's all in that. And I really enjoyed that aspect. What I really liked about this, and what a lot of people maybe didn't like, but I actually did, was it also focuses a lot on her relationship with her sister, and her being the oldest one. I highlighted like a lot in there and underlined. There was a lot in there that me as an older sibling, and if you are an older sibling, especially like an older daughter, that I think you can relate to. Like when I was reading this, I was like, yes, like this is, you are speaking my words and how I feel. And I just actually really love that. I love that it wasn't just all about the romance between her and Charlie. I like that there was a, you know, talking about, again, just more serious topics, more relatable to life, and just more depth to the romance than just obviously them falling in love. And so I really enjoyed that as well. It was one of my favorites. I really recommend it. I'm excited for pretty much anything Emily Henry writes. I really have liked all of her books. Next one, I know I've been seeing this a couple times already in some people's favorites of the year, but it is Dance of Thieves, and this is a duology, which is Vow of Thieves is the other one, and I have it here somewhere on my cart. I'm not done with it yet, so I'm not going to include it, but I'm pretty sure I'm ready really liking it, but I just really enjoyed this one. It is a fantasy YA romance, but it is pretty thick, but I have to say, like, once you get into it, I feel like it is a perfect kind of like fantasy for me because it's not high fantasy. I'm not a super big fan of that. I love the romance plot in it. I feel like it's a good balance of the political kind of elements of, you know, there's a kingdom, there's political like court guards and things like that, and kingdoms, and I just really enjoy it. The characters, again, I think when a character development really gets me and I'm invested into the plot of these, like, you know, these relationships and these different characters, like, that's what really gets me into a story. And I just think this is done really well. Like I said, it is a pretty big one, but once you get into it and the action too, like, it really keeps going, and I just really enjoyed it, and I definitely recommend it to you know, people of all different ages, and it's just a good read, and I'm excited to finish the second book as well. So definitely recommend this one. It was one of my favorites. Next one that I heard about again a lot last year, which is why I checked it out this year, and I have to agree, I really enjoyed it. It is better than the movies. If you're going into it, it is going to be really cheesy, but if you know ahead of time, I feel like I heard a lot about it, so I kind of prepared myself, but I really loved it about it because I was kind of like, this is going to be cheesy. But even though it was cheesy, I felt like, again, it was a romance that wasn't just a romance. It dealt with things like grief and just more serious topics. And I love anything that is like childhood friends to lovers story. I just love that. And it's set in high school, and so it's a YA romance, and it talks about, again, I'm terrible with names, but the main character, her mother had passed away a few years back, and so she's struggling and dealing with that, and she's trying to get this guy that she thinks she likes, right? And so her neighbor is kind of helping her out. It's similar to the movie Duff, if you have seen that, but I really enjoyed it, and I really liked how it had different quotes from different rom-coms in the beginning of the chapters. When I read that book, I was just really on a big rom-com kick after. I just really wanted to watch all these rom-coms, but again, I just really liked it. I thought it was different than something I have read before, and it was just a good read, and it just I don't know, even though I felt like they were in high school, I still felt like there was just like depth to their love story, and I think because it incorporated those elements of, like I said, like talking about tackling grief with her mom and all those things, you felt like the depth in their friendship, which then grew to more, and I just love that, and I really did enjoy that book as well. And the next one that I also really, really liked, and I would, again, like all of these books, would recommend, is The Bodyguard. I just really liked it. I thought it was a romance that was done so well. It kept me engaged the whole time, and in the story it follows, you guys, I'm so terrible with names, I'm sorry, but it follows the story of this woman. She is the bodyguard, actually, and she goes undercover to essentially this very like high profile actor, and he might be in danger, so she is kind of going undercover as his girlfriend, but really she's his bodyguard. And it's just a really cool twist. Like, I've never read something like that before, and it's just done really well. I love the characters. I thought the banter was really good. It was funny. It's like a closed door romance, so there's not like spicy scenes, if you're wondering about that, but it was done really well, and I love the characters. I like the romance. It was just so good. Overall, like, just a really good experience. I think I flew through that book pretty quick, and it was actually one of my favorites. Like, when I think back on the year, I'm like, I think about that book several times. Like, I think about it often, and I would recommend it to people. I just really enjoyed it. And the next one was one of the few thrillers that I read, and again, you might have seen this before in other videos, but I think with good reason. It is called Rock, Paper, Scissors, and I have to say, I think this was my favorite thriller of the year. I just really enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm normally a baby. I don't always read thrillers, but I've been getting more into them. But I actually really enjoyed it because I feel like I want a thriller. Like, I don't want to know what's coming. That's the whole point of a thriller to me. Like, I want to be tricked and bamboozled, right? I'm going to try to figure it out, but I don't want you to let me figure it out. Like, I want to be surprised, and that book did that. I felt like the whole time it always would end on these little like, oh my gosh, wait, what? Like each chapter, it was not what I was expecting. There was that element of going back in the past and there were letters yearly. And it's just, it follows a husband and wife, and you're reading that they're having possibly some issues. They've been married for 10 years and you're kind of seeing, going back in time and seeing where they are now. And presently they are in like a cabin up north kind of thing, and I think it's at Scotland somewhere. But it's just the intrigue, like, oh, like, you know, like just thrillers get to you. But I flew through that book as well, and the twists at the end, it totally got me. I did not see it coming, and it was one of my favorite thrillers of the year, so I really enjoyed it and I would recommend it. Then the next duology, which I'm not including the second one yet because I haven't finished it yet, but I'm also reading this one as well. But it is The Six of Crows. I know it's a duology, and Crooked Kingdom is the second one, but I just really enjoy this. Again, this is, I'm sure a lot of you guys have already know about this, but if you have not read it, I know I hadn't until this year, and I just am so glad I did. I was nervous because I read Shadow and Bone and I honestly hated it. I thought it was really boring, and I was like, what is all the hype about? And I just like did not want to do anything with like the whole Grishaverse. I was just like really put off by it. But I was like, all right, I kept hearing a lot about this, so I tried it, and I'm so glad I did, because this is like 10 times better than Shadow and Bone. I personally feel like you don't even need to read that. Just no, and just read this. Like, this is so much better. The characters, again, this is what really got me, because it is a pretty big book. It's a fantasy YA, but I just love the characters. Like, that's what does it for me. The development, the background of each character, like, they're all so different. The concept of found family, I love that in a book. And again, I feel like it's not super high fantasy, so it's like right at the perfect amount for me, and I just loved it, and I'm excited. I've already started reading the second one, but it's just a really good series. Again, I would just recommend it. And again, the characters like Kaz and just I love all of them, like each of them. It just makes me think of like a big heist movie, but like it's just, I really enjoy each of these characters and I love it. The next one that I read was Sky in the Deep, and I read this one. It was Kindle Unlimited because it reminded me a lot of my last year's, one of my favorite books, like The First Girl Child. So anything with like Vikings, I love that kind of thing, and I really did enjoy this one. Something about it, I kept thinking about the characters after I read it, and it's just looking back, I was like, yes, I really do enjoy that book. And it takes place, because again, I love the character development of it, but basically this it takes place during like the Viking times, and there's different Viking tribes, and when one of the characters, again, sorry guys, bad with names, but she's out fighting in a raid, and when she's fighting against their like worst like enemy, their sworn enemy, and she sees her brother, but her brother died like years ago, so she was like, this is impossible, it must be a ghost, but it is not. And so she actually gets taken to this enemy tribe, and her brother's actually alive, and he's like living within that tribe, which is like total betrayal. And so it just goes into that whole story. And again, just I love that idea of looking at like, you may be sworn or part of one group, but like, what is the relationship? Like, how can we relate to someone else? You know what I mean? And it's just so interesting. And again, the development relationships that she built with others within that, you know, within those tribes. And it's just, I don't know, I really enjoyed it. There's a little plot of romance. It's just good, and it has good action, kind of like war situation. But I just, again, I really enjoyed that book, and I would recommend it. And this next one, I did read a few Colleen Hoover books this year. I'm not like a super huge obsessed fan of Colleen Hoover's. I do have to say her writing really does get me. Some books I really didn't like, some, but this one I have to say I think so far is my favorite Colleen Hoover book. I just really enjoyed so many different things about this. It's called Confess, and it follows a story, I will read you the names, of Auburn and Owen, I think it is. And so I love this because it combines a few different things. It has really cool elements of these confessions that people give that actually, I guess I read a note, were sent in by readers of Colleen Hoover. So they're actually like real confessions that people shared. And it also gives like really cool illustrations because it follows the story of an artist. And so there's just really cool art, which I also love. And then also it's just like, it's just like a really cool story. Like, I love all of these things. Like, it has art, it has the confessions, and it's just a really cool love story, and I just really enjoyed this, and I would recommend it. I had just good elements, and I just really enjoyed it. I think this is one of my favorites. I feel like it had a really good combination. Again, I love when there's things about like the past and connecting it to the present, and I just really enjoyed it. And the element of like confession was really interesting too. And so I just, yeah, this was one of my favorites, I think, from her. I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't know what to expect, but I have to say this was one of my favorites, I think, from her. Last but not least, and again, I think this is one you probably will see a lot, but I just recently read this like last month and this month in December, and I really enjoyed it. But it was the Inheritance Games, the series. I'm still waiting for the third book, which I'm really excited for, but I just really enjoy this. I'm sure a lot of you know about this, but it's a YA, and it's compared a lot to like Knives Out. But like, if you're a fan of like Mystery Agatha Christie puzzles, like the Knives Out, like riddles kind of thing, I think you would really enjoy this. But it follows Avery, and she's just kind of like regular person, I guess, like me and you, I don't know. And she's just kind of, her mother recently passed away, and she doesn't have a relationship with her dad, but all of a sudden she gets notified that basically this man died. What's his name? But it's like the Hawthorne, so Mr. Hawthorne, he passed away, and he's this billionaire, and he left her everything. She's like, I don't even know this guy, okay, what? But part of the agreement is that she has to live in the house where his family, so like his grandsons, his kids, and everyone who they were supposed to get the inheritance, but they aren't. She got it, but she has to live in the house for a year. And so when she's there, obviously, like looking at their relationship, there's like a subplot of romance and like a love triangle, but then figuring out the mystery, there's just little connections. Like the first one especially ended on, I felt like, on a cliffhanger. I was like, oh my gosh, what? And the second one was really good. I enjoyed it, so I'm excited to read the third one. But again, I would just recommend, I feel like it's a good balance of just like mystery, and again, if you especially love, like I love Agatha Christie and like Knives Out, like I really enjoy that, I think you would really like this. I think it's written really well. The chapters are pretty short, so, and they kind of always end on like a little like, wait, what? Like a little cliffhanger, and you want to keep reading. I like the characters. I love learning all the different dynamics and like mystery connections between all the different family members and Avery, so I really like that. And again, it was one of my favorite series of the year. For sure would recommend. There you have it, friends. I'm super excited to have shared those with you. Make sure you share down below what was your favorite or one of your favorite reads for this year. I'd love to add them to my TBR if I haven't yet already, and share them, you know, and hopefully get to them in this new year. So I just want to thank you guys so much. For those of you who have been here, have been watching videos, who are new to my channel, thank you for supporting. I just want to wish you all the best with all these holidays coming up, and Merry Christmas to those of you celebrating. I just want to wish you the best and safety with your family and friends, and just joy in this upcoming year. So thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye everyone.